Job, a quick look at this book. Job was a very rich man, and although he did not belong to the people of Israel, he worshipped the Lord and was a truly good person. But Satan talked to God and accused Job of serving God only because God was blessing him. God agreed to let Satan take away Job's wealth, his children, and finally his health to see whether Job would stay faithful to God. Job did remain faithful. Then three of Job's friends came to comfort him. They believed that health and prosperity were signs of God's blessing. And because Job had lost both his health and his prosperity, the three friends insisted that God must be punishing Job for some sin. Job answered that he was innocent, and this meant that they were wrong. Job and the friends argued back and forth, with neither side really proving the other wrong, although at the end of the argument, the friends gave up. Job was suffering deeply, and several times during the argument, he asked God to appear and explain the reason for his suffering. Then, after the friends stopped speaking, Job decided that human beings cannot find the kind of wisdom that gives answers to the deep questions of life. Only God has that wisdom. Job ended his speeches by swearing that he was innocent of doing wrong. At this point, a young bystander named Elihu began talking. He repeated some of what had already been said, but he also criticized both sides of the argument. Elihu finished with a poem praising God's care for nature. God finally did appear to Job, but he did not explain Job's suffering. Instead, God showed that the many things he does cannot be understood by humans. Humans cannot do what God does. God criticized Job for talking so much when he knew so little, but he also said that Job had remained his faithful servant. And so, at the very end, the book tells how God blessed Job and made him twice as wealthy as he had been before. Job never did understand why he had suffered. He felt bitter, but he never rejected God or turned away from him. Job was convinced that someday God would rescue him. I know that my Savior lives, and at the end he will stand on this earth. My flesh may be destroyed, yet from this body I will see God. Yes, I will see him for myself, and I long for that moment. Job loses his wealth, family, and health. Chapter 1, Job and his family. Many years ago, a man named Job lived in the land of Uz. He was a truly good person who respected God and refused to do evil. Job had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 pair of oxen, 500 donkeys, and a large number of servants. He was the richest person in the East. Job's sons took turns having feasts in their homes, and they always invited their 3 sisters to join in the eating and drinking. After each feast, Job would send for his children and perform a ceremony as a way of asking God to forgive them for any wrongs they might have done. He would get up early the next morning and offer a sacrifice for each of them, just in case they had sinned or silently cursed God. Angels, the Lord, and Satan. One day, when the angels had gathered around the Lord, and Satan was there with them, the Lord asked Satan, "Where have you been?" Satan replied, "I have been going all over the earth." Then the Lord asked, "What do you think of my servant Job? No one on earth is like him. He is a truly good person who respects me and refuses to do evil. Why shouldn't he respect you?" Satan remarked. "You are like a wall protecting not only him, but his entire family and all his property. You make him successful in whatever he does, and his flocks and herds are everywhere. Try taking away everything he owns, and he will curse you to your face." The Lord replied, All right, Satan, do what you want with anything that belongs to him, but don't harm Job. Then Satan left. Job loses everything. Job's sons and daughters were having a feast in the home of his eldest son, when someone rushed up to Job and said, "While your servants were plowing with your oxen and your donkeys were nearby eating grass, a gang of Sabeans attacked and stole the oxen and donkeys. Your other servants were killed, and I was the only one who escaped to tell you." The servant was still speaking when a second one came running up and saying, God sent down a fire that killed your sheep and your servants. I am the only one who escaped to tell you." Before that servant finished speaking, a third one raised up and said, "Three gangs of Chaldeans attacked and stole your camels. All your other servants were killed, and I am the only one who escaped to tell you." The servant was still speaking when a fourth one dashed up and said, "Your children were having a feast and drinking wine at the home of your eldest son, when suddenly a storm from the desert blew the house down, crushing all your children. I am the only one who escaped to tell you." When Job heard this, he tore his clothes and shaved his head because of his great sorrow. He knelt on the ground, then worshipped God and said, "We bring nothing at birth. We take nothing with us at death. The Lord alone gives and takes. Praise the name of the Lord." In spite of everything, Job did not sin or accuse God of doing wrong. Chapter 2. Job loses his health. When the angels gathered around the Lord again, Satan was there with them, and the Lord asked, "Satan, where have you been?" Satan replied, "I have been going all over the earth." Then the Lord asked, "What do you think of my servant Job? No one on earth is like him. He is a truly good person who respects me and refuses to do evil, and he hasn't changed, even though you persuaded me to destroy him for no reason." Satan answered, "There's no pain like your own. People will do anything to stay alive. Try striking Job's own body with pain, and he will curse you to your face." "All right," the Lord replied, "make Job suffer as much as you want, but just don't kill him." Satan left and caused painful sores to break out all over Job's body, from head to toe. Then Job sat on the ash heap to show his sorrow. And while he was scraping his sores with a broken piece of pottery, his wife asked him, "Why do you still trust God? Why don't you curse him and die?" Job replied, "Don't talk like a fool. If we accept blessings from God, we must accept trouble as well." In all that happened, Job never once said anything against God. Job's three friends, Eliphaz from Teman, Bildad from Shua, and Zophar from Naamah, were three of Job's friends, and they heard about his troubles, so they agreed to visit Job and comfort him. When they came near enough to see Job, they could hardly recognize him, and in their great sorrow they tore their clothes, then sprinkled dust on their heads and cried bitterly. For 7 days and nights they sat silently on the ground beside him, because they realized what terrible pain he was in. Job curses the day of his birth. Chapter 3. Job's first speech. Blot out the day of my birth. Finally, Job cursed the day of his birth by saying to God, "Blot out the day of my birth and the night when my parents created a son. Forget about that day, cover it with darkness, and send thick gloomy shadows to fill it with dread. Erase that night from the calendar and conceal it with darkness. Don't let children be created or joyful shouts be heard ever again in that night. Let those with magic powers place a curse on that day. Darken its morning stars and remove all hope of light, because it let me be born into a world of trouble. Why didn't I die at birth? Why didn't I die at birth? Why was I accepted and allowed to nurse at my mother's breast? Now I would be at peace in the silent world below, with kings and their advisers whose palaces lie in ruins, and with rulers once rich with silver and gold. I wish I had been born dead and then buried, never to see the light of day. In the world of the dead, the wicked and the weary rest without a worry. Everyone is there, where captives and slaves are free at last. Why does God let me live? Why does God let me live when life is miserable and so bitter? I keep longing for death more than I would seek a valuable treasure. Nothing could make me happier than to be in the grave. Why do I go on living when God has me surrounded and I can't see the road? Moaning and groaning are my food and drink, and my worst fears have all come true. I have no peace or rest, only troubles and worries. The first round of the debate. Chapter 4. Eliphaz's first speech. Please be patient and listen. Eliphaz from Teman said, Please be patient and listen to what I have to say. Remember how your words have guided and encouraged many in need. But now you feel discouraged when struck by trouble. You respect God and live right. So don't lose hope. No truly innocent person has ever died young. In my experience, only those who plant seeds of evil harvest trouble. And then they are swept away by the angry breath of God. They may roar and growl like powerful lions, but when God breaks their teeth, they starve, and their children are scattered. A secret was told to me. A secret was told to me in a faint whisper. I was overcome by sleep, but disturbed by dreams. I trembled with fear, and my hair stood on end as a wind blew past my face. It stopped and stood still. Then a form appeared, a shapeless form, and from the silence I heard a voice say, No humans are innocent in the eyes of God, their Creator. He finds fault with His servants and even with His angels. Humans are formed from clay and are fragile as moths. So what chance do you have? Born after daybreak, you die before nightfall and disappear forever. Your tent pegs are pulled up, and you live this life, having gained no wisdom. Chapter 5. Eliphaz continues, Call out for help. Job, call out for help and see if an angel comes. Envy and jealousy will kill a stupid fool. I have seen fools take root, but God sends a curse, suddenly uprooting them and leaving their children helpless in court. Then hungry and greedy people gobble up their crops and grab their wealth. Our suffering isn't caused by the failure of crops. It's all part of life, like sparks shooting skyward. Job, if I were you, I would ask God for help. His miracles are marvelous, more than we can count. God sends showers on earth and waters the fields. He protects the sorrowful and lifts up those who have been disgraced. God swiftly traps the wicked in their own evil schemes, and their wisdom fails. Darkness is their only companion, hiding their path at midday. God rescues the needy from the words of the wicked and the fist of the mighty. The poor are filled with hope, and injustice is silenced. Consider yourself fortunate. Consider yourself fortunate if God all-powerful chooses to correct you. He may cause injury and pain, but He will bandage and heal your cuts and bruises. God will protect you from harm, no matter how often trouble may strike. In times of war and famine, God will keep you safe. You will be sheltered without fear of hurtful words or any other weapon. You will laugh at the threat of destruction and famine, and you won't be afraid of wild animals. They will no longer be fierce, and your rocky fields will become friendly. Your home will be secure, and your sheep will be safe. You will have more descendants than there are blades of grass on the face of the earth. You will live a long life, and your body will be strong until the day you die. Our experience has proved these things to be true, so listen and learn.